Hey y'all, it's Katie. Welcome back to From My Vanity and welcome to my fails video for the month of October. I am going to continue to keep my monthly makeup review videos separate, so I know it's not really kind of in the spirit of how it used to be last year, but this might just be a new thing going forward, how I'm going to have to do it. But I am breaking it up and doing a separate monthly favorites and a separate monthly fails, and then depending on how many products that I have in the middle, I'll put them in one or the other. Last month I put them with the fails because I had a lot of favorites, or month before last, but this month, or this past month for October, boy am I getting confused, for October I ended up putting the okay products in with the favorites because I actually didn't really have that many favorites, but I have quite a bit of fails for this month. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it and talk about the products that really did not impress me. It almost made it into the fine category, but for me and my kind of makeup meter, kind of what I consider a good product or not, I still thought it was a fail. So I put in the fails, but like I said, it was almost in the fines. And this is the Mellow Causemetics Precision Pen Eyeliner. Blah, blah. Yeah, this is in the fails mainly because they said precision pen, but do we see how big that tip is? In my opinion, when I opened it, I was like, oh, that's precision? It's kind of a fat little pen there. It's not my idea of a precise pen for wing liner. So that right there off the bat threw me a little bit and kind of deducted some points in my head, just because you guys know I like really thin lines and I like really tiny precise pens to be able to get those very thin lines. I don't like thick wings. That's just my preference. So anyway, that was kind of a tick off for me, and then when I started to use it, it kind of just continued to get a little bit worse. Here on the lid right now, it's not bad, but something I notice is when you're using it on your eyes, the first eye goes relatively well. It's nice and black. By the time you go over to the next eye, I'm noticing I'm having to go over the areas frequently and like really line over the area many times because the tip starts to dry out, and I kind of have to point it down and shake it. And this is a brand new pen, so that just kind of it just kind of bummed me out. Also too, because I'm putting it over powder and stuff like that, I'm sure that has a factor to it. Here on my bare skin, it glides on so easily and nicely, but you also see it's a relatively thick line. If you're wanting to make a really thin wing and like wing it out, I felt like most times, I don't know, I just really struggled with getting a thin line. And when I would go to lay it down, because the tip is so fat, kind of like what I said in the beginning, when I would lay it down to draw it back, it just would end up being way bigger than I wanted it to. And it was really hard for me to get it to kind of like come out sharp enough to my liking, because it was just such a fat tip. If I kept going, it just kept getting bigger and bigger. It was a little tricky to use. So that's kind of why it ended up being in my fails. Another thing I noticed is it's not waterproof. I've been sick recently. I'm pregnant and laying down a lot. So anytime my eyes would water and I'd be laying down, I would notice when I kind of cleaned up any of the water, I would get the liner crumbling off onto my finger and basically disappearing. If you like a felt tip, this does have a felt tip, but I personally don't like felt tips. I'd rather a brush tip just because I find them to be a lot more precise and easier to get that thin wing. So with all that in mind, it's just not my preference, and you know, considering the price point, considering the type of pen liners that are at the drugstore, it just didn't hit any marks for me, and I had to put it in the fails. Next up, I feel like I have reviewed this before, but I feel like I've just changed my mind and I want to give you guys an update. This is the Maybelline Superstay Matte Ink Liquid Lipstick, and I like it, but I also hate it. And it ended up in the fails for me this month, mainly because I was using this, and something I noticed is that like, it's nice and it is a lipstick that will stay like no other, but at the same time it is a lipstick that will be so uncomfortable, almost like none other. And for me, it's just, if I'm gonna go for a nude lip, I have so many liquid lipsticks that dry down to a matte finish and stay really, really well, that are 10 times more comfortable to wear than this, that I'd rather pick this. I can see it being worth the discomfort when you're wanting to reach for a red, so I can definitely see myself still holding on to this red and keeping it for those days and occasions where I want to wear a red lipstick, but I don't want to get it on my clothes, I don't want to get it on my teeth, I don't want to get it on my kids. I can put this on and I know it's going to stay put and I don't have to worry about it. But at the same time, I'm going to put it on my lips and know it's going to dry them out so badly, it's going to feel extremely dry, and as it wears down, you can't really fix it at all. It just kind of continues to shrivel your lips up and just make them look super dry, super liney, and all that stuff. So I have to go into wearing this making sure my lips are at the best best level of hydration that I can possibly get them at. I would never put this liquid lipstick on if they were even slightly dry, slightly flaky, kind of like they are today. My lips are a little rough. I wouldn't wear these because they would just look so bad, feel so bad, and the end results, like after taking the lipstick off, which these are hard to take off, I'd probably end up with like bleeding lips. There are pros and cons. There's just a lot more cons for me, so I have to make sure there's a reason to wear it in order to put up with all the cons that comes with this liquid lipstick. Next up, I want to briefly touch on two mascaras that I got in previous BoxyCharms. This first one is the Hank and Henry double-sided mascara. It doesn't have a name. Oh wait, Stick With It Mascara Duo Clout. Yeah, this mascara here, I think we got in last month. Anyway, I was excited for it because it had this one side that was really small and would be good for your lower lashes. And then it had like a regular side. But the reason it is in the fail is because this side is terrible. Like, it does absolutely nothing for my lashes. It's more of a dry formula. This isn't a rubber bristle brush. It's like a natural bristle brush, I think is what it's called. And the little spaces between it are really tight, so it's really hard to get your lashes in between there and really comb it up. I don't know. Overall, I just was very unimpressed with this side. Anytime I put it on, like, maybe it gave you natural lashes, but I never go for natural lashes. I'm wanting to get my lashes to show up as much as possible with the eye looks that I create, so it just was a dud for me. But even with that side being a dud, I was like, well, maybe the lower lash side will really stand out and make it worth it, but I've tried a lot better lower lash mascaras in this. Again, the formula is very dry, so I found that I just had to keep coating and keep coating and keep coating and keep coating to try to get it to transfer and actually stick to my lashes. And more times than not, using this tiny wand, I would still end up touching my lower lid, or like, you know, my skin around here, and get mascara on it. Which for this tiny of a mascara wand, I shouldn't have any problems applying mascara and, you know, not touching my skin. I mean, I can apply the Benefit Roller Lash and do that to my lower lashes and not get it on my skin and not touch it because the brush is just so great and the formula is so great. This brush is tiny, but the formula is so finicky that I would always end up with mascara on my lower lashes or on my skin, and that just annoyed me. And if you want a better formula, I know NYX has one. Their formula tends to dry out a little fast, so if you want to kind of invest in a nicer one, I found the It Causemetics Tightline one to be an extremely easy lower lash mascara to use. The formula is nice and wet, it doesn't take long to coat it, and it lasts a long time. I would say a good solid, I don't know, I feel like I'd keep it well over 6 months before getting rid of it and feeling like it was drying out. So anyway, yeah, overall this just was a big fail. Too many strikes, it was out. The other mascara is a Trestique mascara. This one, for starters, this is like a cute idea to be able to curl your lashes, but it doesn't curl worth a darn. I never could get it to fit because of where this is exactly, like the angle I would have to get it into my lashes and really crimp down on the right spot. My cheekbones are in the way of, like, this is all up, and, you know, it's very clumsy. So I just found it was very difficult to actually maneuver, and then once I actually crimped it well enough and got it in there and would kind of hold it up and try to crimp it, I'd let go and be like, I don't think anything happened. And I even did it like 3 times, 3 separate parts of my lashes, and then did one side one day, one side didn't crimp it or curl it at all. It didn't do anything, so I just felt like that was a bit of a gimmick. But talking about the mascara, I didn't really like it either. The brush was a little more promising and it was a lot easier to transfer than like the Hank and Henry, but the formula just wasn't that great. It gave a very light layer of mascara, and even when I tried to go up and build up, it really didn't give me any kind of volume or definition that I personally like. It separates nicely, it coats the lashes nicely, it, you know, tints them black fairly nicely, but it's just not my preference for a mascara, and for it to be so huge and clunky and have that little curl thing that doesn't work, I don't know, just overall I was like, I don't like this. It's a fail for me. Next up, we're going to talk about the Avon Magic Tinted Moisturizer in a Brightening Illumination. It's what I have on my skin today, and I debated a long time for this if it was a fail or just an okay product, but I finally put it in the fail because while it is extremely light and it stays relatively well on my skin, something I noticed is that it looks and wears as well for me personally on my skin if I use this and lightly set it with a powder, or if I use just like this and put a powder foundation on top. They both look the same, like they're both very lightweight. This looks extremely lightweight, like you can see all of the kind of imperfections poking through. It doesn't cover anything, but where the cons really come in for this is that it feels really sticky. It feels like you're putting SPF. You know those SPFs you can put. I feel like they're not as popular anymore. The beauty industry or skincare industry has really perfected the SPF. But I remember when I was a kid, when you would put SPF, you just felt like you were putting grease on your skin, and then you could feel it all day. That's what it's like to put this on it. So I would put it on and apply it, and it would, you know, I'd use my fingers all the time because I hated how it looked with the brush. So I'd use my fingers, apply it, and it was fine, but just all day I feel like it feels like I have grease sitting, like a layer of grease just sitting on top of my skin. And like I said, it wears relatively nicely, which I was surprised because I was expecting it to just like fall off my face because it had that greasy feel. It wears relatively nice. It kind of, you know, comes off around the nose as expected, but it doesn't really crease anywhere. It doesn't splotch off weirdly anywhere. So that was nice, but it wasn't comfortable to use. And if I had the choice, and thinking about it now, like if I'm gonna go and want to wear something super lightweight on my skin, I'd rather use this in a powder foundation like my CoverGirl one, and call it a day with some concealer under my eyes, then use this with a powder foundation on top, some concealer, and call it a day. So that's why I decided to just put it in my feels, because it just really didn't work for me. Also, the coloring is really weird. This is light, which I feel like I'm not super light. I think they might have one more shade lighter, but this is light, and I feel like anytime I use it, and I feel like you can kind of see it now, but it gives a pinkiness to my skin. Like, this is how my skin naturally looks. I don't think you'll be able to see on camera, but it definitely, after I apply it to my face, it gives a pinky orangish hue to my skin, and it makes my skin look more red than it was before I put it on. And I'm just like, why am I making my skin look more red and like worse trying to put something on to like correct it? I should have just left it alone and it looks better. So that's another reason this coloring is just not exactly right. So all that to say, this was a fail. Okay, next up is also an Avon product. I feel so bad because there are 3 Avon products in my fails category, but they're different levels of fails, so bear with me. But anyway, this is the Glimmer Shadow. I was really excited and had high hopes for these because, I mean, these were fun colors. They looked like they'd be a lot of fun, but they were a big disappointment. So first off, they are extremely dried out. I don't know if it's just mine or getting old. I got it over the summer. It shouldn't be that bad, but they're extremely dry. And do we see, I don't think you can see it on there, but it's also thin. Like, there's very little pigmentation to this. So if you're someone who likes to do like a neutral color in the crease and just want to basically take your finger and pop some color and maybe a little bit of sparkle on your lid, I think you would like these. I did notice that the staying power of the color was nice, but if you're wanting this for really nice glitter, really nice intense color, it does neither of those. By the time I put, one day I did the purple, wore it all day, had to work so hard to get the purple to get on my lid. It's just, it's very dry and thin formula. It's very weird. It's not like a typical pigmented cream. But anyway, I worked real hard, finally got it on my lid. I think I had like 2 or 3 pieces of glitter that still stuck. Like, the glitter is just weird. And the purple one I feel like has even less glitter than the blue. Yeah, I think you can see the glitter in the blue. The purple one barely has any. So when I finished my look, I had like 1 glitter piece here and 1 glitter piece there, and then by the end of the day, those were gone. It's just very sparse and not evenly distributed, like the glitter isn't. So yeah, I don't know. Those are just all reasons I was not impressed with this. If you're wanting it for that really pretty coloring, that was why I was excited for it. It's not going to give you that. It's extremely sheer. There's not a whole lot of glitter. The glitter itself is very fine and very small. And yeah, overall just not impressed with these. They last okay. Like, the actual colors last okay on the lid. The glitter doesn't stick around, but like the color, the cream shadow settles down and dries and doesn't crease. So that is nice, but it's not what I was expecting. I was expecting more of like, not, you know, not a glitter and glow, but at least like a shimmer and glow one, like a cream shimmer from Stila. This just didn't give it to me at all. The glitter, yeah, I've already been through this. I won't repeat myself, but it was a big fail for me. So yeah, wouldn't recommend. So next up I have the Anastasia Beverly Hills, what is this even called? Their tinted brow gel that they came out with recently over the spring, I think it was. I got it just before we moved, so back in April, March. Yeah, this was a fail, and I was super surprised. For starters, I was surprised at the size of the brush because when I pulled this into my collection to test, I had just put back the Thrive Causemetics one, and let me show you the brushes to compare. So this is the Anastasia one, and then this is the Thrive Causemetics. This one's a lot smaller and the bristles are also very teeny tiny, so it's really easy to sit there and basically like draw on your brows with a tinted brow gel and comb them out and all this. This is more of like a spoolie, which makes it a little difficult to really get the brow gel, the color part of it, to get onto your skin and kind of tint it and then allow you to brush through it. This just made it so easy and effortless. I pulled it back out because I love this one so much. This just did not do it for me. It tinted my brows. I have it in my brows today. It tints them nicely. I just find it really difficult to get it to get on my skin and then be able to brush it out to make it look natural and not just like all these blots or, you know, or like sticking in odd places. It also is just very thick and chunky. So when you would put it on, even if I, you know, did this side, didn't dip it back in, when I would go to this side and there's like half, you know, should be a lot less product on it, I would still get issues of like, I would put it down and just get a clump of something in my lashes, of like this product in my lashes, and I would go to brush it out and it would just still stay just like a clump of color. It just didn't look, nice. I got a little bit here. I worked it out with another like brow brush and the spoolie, but it just like stuck there because I have a bare spot here, so I'm always trying to make sure when I have a gel, eyebrow gel product, to go over that spot and really tint the skin so you don't notice the bare spot. This just kind of stuck in a clump and it wasn't cute. And then on top of that, something I noticed that every single time I use this, when I go to brush my brows, no matter how careful I am to only like brush in my brow area, I, without fail, every single time, I will get this brow gel in spots of like the fine hair around your brows. I'll get it stuck on there or just even stuck to my skin, and I'm like, I didn't even go over there. Like, how did you get there? Like, I'm so careful to stay in my brows to try to prevent that, but I'll still get like speckled spots, and this is so hard to remove once you get it on there. And I'm not someone who does my brows first. The brows are the last thing I do. So then I would have these like little random brown dots and I would have to try to like remove them. And it's so tough to remove. I'd end up removing like my foundation and everything, and then I'd have this bare spot. It was just a big hassle. I wasn't impressed. Lasting power is really nice. It stays really well. It keeps my brow hairs relatively in place. But the hassle of trying to apply this just makes it a big fail for me, and I was not impressed, put it that way. Next up, a big disappointment for me was the Makeup Revolution Cut Crease Canvas Full Coverage Eyeshadow Base. I had high hopes for this, using it as a cut crease canvas, so using it to cut my crease once I've been doing my eyeshadow. I wasn't really trying this to just be an all over, kind of blended out, kind of like the concealer that I use to start my makeup looks. I just wanted this for the cut crease because that's what it says in the title. Yeah, I really don't like this at all. For starters, like, this is their brush tip, and it is a mess. Like, there's no way you can use that on your lid at all. Like, it would just apply too much product and not be precise at all. And even if you try to like scrape it off, the brush still isn't a nice brush. Anyway, so anytime I use this, while it has a brush included as they market it, I never used it. So I'd have to hold this and grab another brush to use this. But on top of that, the biggest reason that I put this as a fail is that while it is nice and white and it does, you know, cut your crease, it doesn't do anything that like my Conceal and Define, this one, doesn't do. And this one's easier to use because this, I noticed, I don't know if it's because it's white, but it's very patchy. So when you get it on your brush and you go to put it on your lid, let me see if I can do it here. It ends up, see, even my skin is just smoother than your eyelid is with powder on it. But it ends up, you see how it's like really concentrated here and like really patchy here. So if you're trying to build it up and get a really nice white base, because I want it for the white base to really make my shadows pigmented, I try to build it up, but then it's just very splotchy. Like, I don't even think you can see. I feel like I'm a crazy person talking over here. On top of that, once it's done and applied, I have to go with a different brush. I forget which one I used today, but something like this that's totally clean, and I have to pat over it to remove the excess because it's so splotchy and not smooth. I don't want to put a matte shadow on top of that or it would end up looking splotchy and not smooth. So I have to go over on top of that. So just to use this product, I'd end up with like 3-4 brushes, and I'm just like, this is too much hassle. I feel like I'm not explaining this well, and I'm so sorry, but okay, so my camera card just filled up. I had to put it on my computer and get some stuff off, so I kind of lost track of where I was at. But basically, I just don't think this is a really good product for cutting your crease. So there's my 2 cents on that. Okay, and last up, I almost made it to the end without my card filling up, but of course. Anyway, this is the Avon 2-in-1 Lip Tattoo. I had super high hopes for this, and they were just crash, dash, burn, what have you. The biggest con and the biggest reason this is in my fails is because if you have any type of texture, dry patches, unevenness on your lips, which has been me pretty much since I got pregnant, these won't work for you because they're like a lip staining product, so it will get underneath all of those little flakes, all of that unevenness, what have you, and it will tint some areas darker than others and just emphasize the fact that your lips are not in a good place. And that is definitely what these did for me more times than not when I tried to wear them. So that right there was just like a, yeah, no thank you, I just can't use these. Like, I don't have perfect lips. But even that, there still are some cons. So one of the biggest cons is that they just don't give you a lot of product. And I don't know how much comes in there, but it's hard to get the product out. So this, as you can see, like this is to line it. And it's extremely like pigmented when you first go into it, but once you get like that first couple lines, as I'm going to like do my upper lip, it's drying out, and I'm really having to like shake it or really press it onto my arm or hand to try to get more product down there and then finish applying it. I just found that I could never line my lips with one go. I was always having by the end to really struggle to get it to show up. Same story for this side, and this side is supposed to be what you use to like line your whole lips, but it's so short and stubby. And it's a very hard product, and while I feel like here it comes out beautifully and just makes me look like a liar, but trust me, when you go to put this on your lips, I couldn't even fill in my bottom lip without it really running out, and I was having to like really press down to try to get the product to come off of this felt tip. Both sides are felt tipped, and this side is very hard. Like this side is flexible. Like this side is nice and flexible, so it makes it easy, but this side is hard. Like there's no real give to it. So when I'm pressing on my lips to really get it to transfer or get some product to come out, it's not the most pleasant experience. It's a very short, stubby little tip. It was a big hassle to apply, I'll put it that way. Like anytime I use these, I felt like I was having to fight to try to get it onto my lips, and then when I would step back, I'd be like, well, that looks really uneven and not at all flattering, because some areas would tint darker, some areas was just so hard to get the product to apply. It was lighter than other places, so yeah. Was not impressed with that. And then I think I maybe tried to wear it twice. I actually was like, you know what? I'm just gonna put this on. I'm just gonna be around the house. Doesn't matter if I look crazy. As soon as you drink anything, eat anything, it starts coming off. And within, I felt like an hour, it was basically gone. Now keep in mind that like they're very lightly tinting your lips, so it's nothing like crazy pigmented color like a lipstick. But even still, I would expect a lip stain to last a little bit longer, at least hold up a little bit more than that. So overall, this by far was the biggest fail for me this month. Yeah, I really wanted to like these. I really tried. I was super disappointed because I was excited about these. I really wanted them to work, but there was no way I could make them work. If you have this product, let me know if you made them work, but for me this month, this was the biggest fail. Alright, so there you have it. Those are all the fail products from this past month. Some that I kind of have more of a hatred for than others, but overall the products just didn't stand up for me and were just a big fail. They stood out in the wrong way. They stood out as being a huge fail. So I hope you guys found those reviews helpful. Please keep in mind, as always, everyone's preferences when it comes to makeup are different, and then everyone's skin is different. Everyone likes to apply things differently, so maybe you would absolutely love the Mellow Causemetics Precise Liquid Liner, but I just don't because I can't get the type of wing that I like. But yeah, if you missed my makeup favorites, I can go ahead and link that up here. I'll have it listed down below. You can look on my channel. I'll have my October favorites for the month already live by this point, I should. And stay tuned very soon, maybe the next video, I'm not sure, but I'll have my palette reviews for the month of October. I have the Juvia's Place Nomad palette on my eyes today, so I'll be reviewing 5 palettes coming up very soon. But anyway, yep, with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys.